One of the reasons why we're so consistent is because we're absolutely clear on this one simple fundamental truth, which is if we're not consistent, we're certain we won't get our goals.
99% of my speeches, I wasn't very confident, but it's just practice and understanding that, look, even if you screw this up, even if you Jeff this horribly wrong, if you show up again, then you're still winning. You're still winning. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, Next Level University Weekly Meetup Monday for week number 56, the 5 C's of a next level life.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to do an overview before
I can
we
set
hammer
the
it?
stage,
You want to
yeah.
set the stage?
So as always, we're going to go to 6:40 on the dot. You can interrupt with questions anytime. So we are streaming live on Kevin's personal page in Next Level Nation and on the Hyperconscious podcast page, which we're still working on getting changed to the Next Level University. But you can comment any platform, and Amy is behind the scenes reading the comments, and she can ask us live. So if you have a question, do not be afraid to interrupt us. There are no bad questions because we want the engagement. That's going to make this far more valuable for everybody. And if you have a question, remember, someone else probably does as well. So that's the stage. Again, we're going to go to 6:40. We've got 37 minutes on the clock. And this is the 5 C's of a next level life.
That might have to be the 6th C, courage.
Interesting.
We're going to have a bunch of C's. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, at this point, this is probably 611 or 12. I don't know what episode this is going to end up being. But we've seen a lot of common occurrences between people, and these are what we have deemed the 5 most important C's for a next level life.
Real quick before you dive in. So 600 episodes in, you do a lot of contemplation. Kevin and I have talked about so many different facets of life. We've also interviewed hundreds of people at this point, and we've also coached hundreds of people at this point in some form or another. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, I know that I'm over 700 calls in just one-on-one coaching other people, and I know Kevin's at least that because you do a lot of listener calls.
1 million.
1 million calls, roughly. But that's the thing. We, at the end of the day, our statistical analysis of all that has come down to these are the most important 5 C's from our perspective to really get to the next level. And we're not here. This is what we are. We're heart-driven. We want to help you, but we're no BS. We're not going to tell you it's going to be easy. We're not going to tell you it's going to be quick. We're going to tell you the truth of what we believe it really takes, and we're also practicing what we preach consistently.
Boom. So number 1, and we've talked about this many, many times, but we want to try to get it from a different point of view today. Number 1 is clarity. At the end of the day, if you don't know what you want, the chances of you finding it are very, very slim. But I also think it's important to understand that sometimes knowing what you don't want is just as important as knowing what you do want. That is a form of clarity. It's just not one that people really focus on. You're only as clear on your goals as you are clear on yourself. And I think that's something that's very, very important. And one of the reasons Alan and I lean so heavily into self-awareness. Again, we used to be the Hyperconscious podcast. Hyperconscious means acutely aware. Very aware of your surroundings, of your thoughts, of your beliefs, of all of that. I've said before that for the first 25 years of my life, I was unconscious. I had no idea why I was doing what I was doing. There was no clarity. I was clear on one thing. I wanted to make a lot of money. And I did that. But I wasn't clear on how I wanted to get there, on the life I wanted, on the relationships, on the fulfillment, on growth, on contribution. So all of that is just as, if not more important than the actual result. So I had a client, this was a few years ago, this was back in the day, and I said, what do you want out of life? And he said to me, I want to go to school, and I want to open up an orthodontics clinic. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. And he says, something about seeing somebody's beautiful smile after they're afraid to show it really, really inspires me. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, I think that's amazing. Let's figure out how to do that. And we started talking about something, I believe it's Ty Lopez's, the 4 M's of motivation. Mm-hmm. So there's 4 things that motivate human beings, and we all have them to some degree. We just value them differently. So number 1 is movement/freedom, the ability to go anywhere in the world and do what you want. Number 2, money/possessions or materials, so fast cars, that sort of thing, houses. Mastery/status, you want to be the best in the world, right? You find significance from that. And then the 4th one is mating or relationships. I said, which one of those is most important to you? And he said, honestly, the movement/freedom. And I said, okay, well, I just want to play devil's advocate here. Do you know how long it's going to take you in school to get to where you want to be, where you can open up your own orthodontics clinic, your own practice? And I said, I don't know, because I've never studied it, but it's going to take you years and years and years. And even then, you're not going to have the movement or freedom. You're going to be tied to that office. You're going to have to do that for a while. And it was literally in that moment where he shifted. He actually, I think later that week was like, yeah, I was really thinking about it, and I've always loved real estate, and real estate is a great way for me to get passive income and be able to move wherever I want and still have money coming in. He completely switched his clarity almost overnight, and he's a very strong action taker, Devazio. Shout out to powerful Devazio. And now I think he has 2 or 3 rental properties, and that's what he's doing now. All based on one question. What part of this motivates you the most? He gave an answer, and that completely changed his clarity. So I think it's super, super important not always to focus on what you want. Sometimes you got to focus on who you are.
And importantly, too, you got to focus on what you don't want.
Definitely.
Devazio got very clear, thanks to Kevin's question, of I don't want to be tied to one area for a really long time. Whereas when you work in real estate, you can move around, and real estate is everywhere that humans exist. So
this is how much of a savage. Shout out to Devazio. This is how much of a savage Devazio is. I think he lived in North Carolina or South Carolina. And he drove down to Florida to see us speak at Your World Within Live with the wonderful Eddie Pinero. And he literally got into a car accident on the way, got a different car, and kept coming.
Right. Still showed up.
Still showed up.
And then he sent us, by the way, I think it was a year later or so, a photo of him with his real estate plaque. I think of his first home.
I think so.
Or something like that. Anyways, it's awesome. Best part of our job, by the way, is that kind of stuff. But again, the first C is clarity. And so the 3 things that I want to make sure everyone out there is clear on, and if you have a notebook, write these down. So number 1 is clarity, but there's 3 things in particular you have to be clear on, in my opinion. The first one is core aspirations. Those are your goals. Those are where you want to go. What have you plugged into your GPS? Okay, so if Kevin and I want to go get food after this, we got to plug into our GPS where we want to go get food. Okay, the second is core values. The place we choose is going to be based on the food we value. If he doesn't like bone-in chicken,
I hate it.
Hates it. He wants boneless.
Yeah, it has to.
If we go to Wicked Wings, he's going to get a different type than me, but we can pick the goal based on the core value. Okay, and then core beliefs. Core beliefs is, here's an example of one. I am certain that given enough effort and time, I can achieve anything I set my mind to. Okay, that's one core belief. So some of the examples that I wanted to give you, again, core aspirations, core values, core beliefs. Core aspirations is where you want to go. Core values is how you want to get there, right? So a good example is I intend to be a millionaire as a goal, but if core value is integrity, you're not going to necessarily sell cigarettes if you know cigarettes are bad for people. Okay, so that's core value plus core aspiration. Then core belief. I believe cigarettes are bad for people, therefore I will not sell them to achieve my goal. So if those 3 things, core aspirations, core values, core beliefs, you're not clear on them, you're going to be just kind of drifting around with the tide. Okay, there's a lot of options out there. We all have phones in our pockets with 10,000 infinite things we can do. But if you're not clear
There's
on...
a question.
Oh, perfect.
Hammer it!
Okay. How do you maintain consistency when your life is lacking clarity?
Ooh, that's a great question. We actually talked a little bit about that today in one of the episodes. I think that, again, just because you're not clear on exactly what you want doesn't mean you can't be clear on what you don't want. So consistency isn't just, like for us, it's peak performance tracking, right? But like it also could be how often am I staying out of the wrong rooms?
Right.
I know some people in group coaching, one of their things is stay sober. How many days have I stayed sober? Like that's how they determine their consistency. So I think it's good to flip it from I must know exactly what I want to measure progress to I know what I don't want also so I can measure the fact that I'm not also holding myself back, right? Consistency creates results, but lack of consistency in a negative area of your life also creates negative results.
So to answer that original question, it's almost like you have to understand the downside of not being consistent. And believe it or not, that's one of the C's that we're going to get to. So that's the 4th one is consistency. But to answer this question, I'm certain that if I'm not consistent, then I won't get my goal. Therefore, I'm certain I'll regret it if I don't be consistent. So the original question was, how do you be consistent without clarity? The truth of the matter is, I don't know if you really can, and I'll explain a little bit deeper. if you're not at least clear on what you don't want, you won't be consistent. Kevin and I earlier today, we were in the studio and we were going through, okay, this is what happened in 2018. This is what happened in 2019. This is 2020, 2021. We went all the way to, I think, 2026 in terms of our business goals and our finances. Gross expenses, net income, all that. And it compounds pretty drastically, assuming Kevin and I can stay consistent and clear and evolve and grow and serve, all that. But one of the reasons why we're so consistent is because we're absolutely clear on this one simple fundamental truth, which is if we're not consistent, we're certain we won't get our goals. Here's the truth, and this is so hard to get. Even if we are consistent, it's not guaranteed. But if we're not consistent, it's guaranteed we won't get the goal. So to answer the original question, I don't know if you can really stay consistent without at least clarity on the fact that being inconsistent is never going to help you. And hopefully that's helpful.
I think you're still up.
I'm still up.
I don't know if you finished.
I didn't. Okay, so again, core aspirations, core values, core beliefs. Write those down. I'm going to give you one example of each. So imagine you have a core aspiration of spending a lot of time living on the beach and spending a lot of time on the beach. But you also have a core aspiration of, again, living on a beach in a $3.5 million home. See, you might have a hard time spending 5 days a week on the beach and being able to afford a $3.5 million home. Now, are there ways to do it? I think maybe. That's kind of hard for me to even say. Of course there are, but that might be a losing game. Those are goals in conflict. One, I want to spend a lot of time on the beach. The other one, I want to build a business that's going to make me an unbelievably high income. And again, Kevin's talked about this. Like, if we wrote a book called The 84-Hour Workweek, no one would buy it, right? And this is nothing against Tim Ferriss, but The 4-Hour Workweek is a title that gets people to read it, and it's actually a deeper book than that. But just understand that wanting to spend time on the beach is somewhat in conflict with wanting to be wealthy, at least at the beginning. And again, we'll go deeper into that later. So again, that's a core aspiration in conflict. Core value. Imagine you have a core value of staying home with your family, but yet you want to be an international speaker. Prior to this virtual world that we can now do speeches anywhere, which we're so grateful for, that would have been a core value in conflict. I want to be home with my family, but I also want to be an international speaker and travel to Dubai and to all these other places, the UK. See, those are in conflict, okay? And then core belief. You want to be super, super, super successful, and you believe that you can, but maybe you have a core belief that the only way that I'll be successful and happy is if I partner with this other person who doesn't want to partner with me. That's an example of a belief in conflict. But the point of this whole thing is clarity. If you're not clear on what you aspire to, what you value, and what you believe, it's going to be very hard to make good decisions. And at the end of the day, we're all a byproduct of our decisions.
We are all a byproduct of our decisions. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're watching this, if you have ever seen 8-Minute Abs, or if you have ever fallen for a get-rich-quick scheme. So number 2 is commitment. People who are trying to sell that sort of thing. Like Alan just said, the 4-hour work week versus the 84-hour work week. 4-hour commitment versus 84-hour commitment. Right? 6-minute abs, 6-minute commitment versus 6 months of eating correctly and exercising and making sure that you're being mindful of the decisions you're making. At the end of the day, everybody wants better. I don't know a single human being walking the face of the earth that doesn't want better in some way, shape, or form, whatever better means to them, but not everybody's actually committed to better. I know a lot of people who are in relationships. Not everybody is in a committed relationship where they're committed to having the tough conversations. They're committed to supporting the person's dreams. They're committed to meeting that person's love language. Like, that is a different kind of relationship. That is a different kind of love. And as you know, at Next Level U, Alan and I are heart-driven, but we're no BS. At the end of the day, your goals only care about whether or not you're chasing them, right? Like, if you don't want it bad enough, you just won't get them. The mirror doesn't care. Like, there's certain things that just require a high level of commitment, and you're not always going to feel like doing it. We had somebody, we were talking about this in group coaching, where they said, I just didn't feel pulled to do it. And I said, I understand that, and I think you have to be aligned spiritually, but at the end of the day, you might not feel pulled to do a podcast episode every week. You might not feel pulled to get up and go to the gym before work. You might not feel pulled to do this, to do this, to do this. And it's commitment. That's what commitment is. Everybody wants to do better, but not everybody is committed to doing better. And you have to take it seriously. You have to take it seriously. If you have a big, big goal, it genuinely is up to you more than any other human being walking the earth. I don't know what you guys do when these cameras go off. When you go home at night, I don't know if you're still committed. Only you do. Only you know whether or not you're committed at the level that you need to be. And I think that it's very important to check. And we've been talking about this recently of renewing your vows. When you're married, you renew your vows. What does that mean? Well, I'm renewing my commitment to you. So I would suggest that people make sure that they are reviewing their commitment to their goals, their dreams, their aspirations, their relationships, all that stuff.
Strong work, man.
I appreciate that,
It's
man.
good.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Good. And again, first one, clarity. Second one, commitment. Once you're clear on what you want and who you want to be, now you got to commit. You got to commit to the goal. You can predict someone's success based on their commitment level. And remember, behavior never lies. Okay, real talk. Kevin and I are both not in the best shape compared to our past.
Definitely.
You're not in the best shape of your life.
No,
True?
no, true.
Neither am I. Here's why. Real talk. We're not that committed right now.
Nope.
We work out 4 or 5 days a week. We're not tracking our calories as well as we used to. That's by design and it's by choice, not because we don't want to be in better shape, but because we understand that we are not as committed as we used to be. Fitness used to be my whole life. I was a fitness coach. I was a fitness, quote-unquote, influencer. My whole life was fitness. I'm not saying, and I was doing fitness shows. I did 3 different fitness shows. I know Kevin did one as well. We were more committed back then to our fitness goals, and therefore we were in better shape back then. True story. It's not McDonald's fault. It's not anyone else's fault. It's the fact that our commitment level went down, and naturally so did our results. It's like that with everything. Okay?
There's another question.
Fire?
Hammer in.
Okay. What have you chosen to give up to commit to podcasting?
Oh my goodness, that is a great question.
Yeah, it is.
I will preface it with this. Do you want to go first? Because I always Jeff it. You want to go first?
Sure. You want me to?
Yeah.
What have we given up to commit to podcasting? I'll try to do the short list. Every other job that's come to me and offered me a job. I'm very blessed at this point to, on LinkedIn, get offered many job opportunities, consulting gigs, different things like that. I've given up Mondays, every Monday, forever. And again, I love podcasting. So and by give up, this is something I want to say as well. You have to give up to grow up. I want you to imagine that you're still doing the things that you did at 15. Your results would be 15-year-old results. So you have to give up to grow up. And anyone who tells you otherwise is probably trying to explain that it's not a sacrifice because what you're getting is better. But just remember, at the beginning, it does feel like a sacrifice. Kevin and I were talking about this earlier. Today we did 3 episodes and we're about to give a speech, which we're giving right now. And we both genuinely don't feel like we were all that effective today. But that's more than we used to do in a week when we started. And so to answer the original question, what have we given up to go all in on podcasting? And I do think these first 2 C's, clarity and commitment, are superpowers for us, genuinely. 5 episodes a week, every single week, 610 episodes. And again, this isn't about us, but we do want you to understand that if you want results that are at level 10, you're going to have to commit at level 10, and you're going to have to give up a lot. I work almost every single weekend. Kevin and I can't remember the last time we took a full day off. I can't remember the last time I didn't work at least a little bit for a full day. I haven't taken a full day off in genuinely years. But that's also, we love our work too. So just understand that if you don't like anything you're doing, that's probably going to be pretty hard. What have we given up? We've given up basically everything else that's not congruent with podcasting. Coaching, speaking, podcasting, these meetups, the NLU team, our girlfriends, our future wives, our everywhere we live, the studio, all of it is a byproduct of our commitment to this mission and this business. So basically everything that's not in alignment with it is my answer.
I would preface it with this too, just because it does have to do with our level of clarity of like, I've given up a lot of things, relationships, again, weekends. a lot of my bad habits, a lot of what I've given up has actually been bad. Like, it's
Same.
been the negative things in my life, which I'm very grateful for.
Right.
But I want to preface it with, like, if you don't want to have the level of success that Alan and I want, it's a different game for you. It'll be a bit of a different game. We want to have the most successful podcasts in the self-improvement industry. Like, there's a lot of people who are doing that, and we're going to have millions and millions and millions of downloads, so it's a different game. But almost everything in my life that doesn't make me better. That's probably the best way to put it. And I'm grateful that we have the opportunity to do that, but it's only because of these. It's only because we are good at these that we actually can give those things up and still be successful. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the biggest issues for our listeners that we've seen is not everybody has people in their corner trying to lift them to the next level, and even the people who are trying to help don't always know how.
That's why Kevin and I created Next Level Group Coaching. It's a 3-month program on teams of 10 with all people committed to achieving their goals. Click the link in the show notes for more information.
And we only take 10 people at a time, so make sure you get in quick.
And this will be quick because we got a crank here,
Okay,
but keep the
we're in
questions
trouble.
coming because this is fire. I was actually looking. We're in the studio. We're on the 4th floor, and it's summer, so we like to look out the window at times. And there's parking lots. And I am telling you, first of all, on Saturday and Sunday, it's empty here. I'm the only one here. But at 5 o'clock on the dot, there's like maybe 2 cars left. We're always here past 5 o'clock. Always. You know, and it's just interesting, and that's our level of commitment. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to live a life like that. Like Kevin said, there's how many podcasts? 2 million?
Oh yeah, every 30 seconds, I believe, somebody starts a podcast.
Okay, so there's over 2 million podcasts. If you slice the self-improvement industry, there's probably, I don't know, 33% of that. So what's a third of that? There's probably 600,000, 700,000 self-improvement podcasts that we want to be the Apple of the self-improvement industry. It is what it is. Now, Apple took 45, 50, 55 years to get to where they are to make the best device. We want to be that, but to help people improve the quality of their life and be more successful and fulfilled. And we work every single day for that. But if you don't want that big of a goal, just understand that you don't have to give up as much. But if you want to be the new next level version of yourself, you definitely have to let go of the older version, the older person's, places, things, and ideas that are keeping you there.
Boom. Number 3, confidence. So this is an idea that I want to really, really instill in people. Losing the game is better than watching it from the sidelines and wish you were playing. Like, think of that for a second. So the first speech I ever gave, we talked about this today on the episode a little bit, was in front of probably 50 people. And I was absolutely terrified. I prepped for days before this, like went through it over and over and over again, because I did not have the confidence to believe that I would be able to succeed at a high level when I did that, okay? Now, looking back, I wish that I understood that it didn't matter as much as I thought it did. Now, I know that probably sounds crazy, but like, Alan and I have done 56 of these meetups. Maybe if you're watching this right now, you can look back and be like, oh yeah, number 23, you guys misspoke. But probably not, right? Because it's not that big of a deal unless you quit. It's not a huge deal. On NLU, on the team, we have a very fail-forward mentality. I would rather you try something, be brave, be courageous, and get outside your comfort zone and fail miserably than not do it in the first place, because that's how you build confidence. Now, if Alan and I were terrible leaders and every time somebody made a mistake, we yelled at them or we disciplined them or we spoke down to them, then confidence wouldn't be built. It just wouldn't work that way. You'd actually be more afraid and less confident. But I think the important thing to understand here, there's so much we talk about confidence that, it's one of my favorite things to talk about. But I think it's important to understand that you're not going to succeed right off the bat. Like, it's just not going to work, and that's okay. In a weird way, you shouldn't be confident if you've never spoken before. You should be a little nervous, right? If you've never podcasted, you probably shouldn't be that confident. That's okay. You're just not competent yet. I think that most people see confidence as a stop sign when it should be something else. I don't know what kind of street sign it should be, but it should be try hard.
Yellow light.
It should be try hard, accept failure, and then try again. And if people did that, I genuinely believe people would be more confident because they'd understand that it's not failure that breaks us. It's quitting. There's a reason I've never quit tattooed on my arm. I genuinely believe if you never quit, you'll succeed. And if I quit every time something went wrong, again, 150 episodes it took me to get confident, right? Like, we've done 56 of these. Like, the first I don't know, 35, I probably wasn't very confident. The first 100 coaching calls, I wasn't very confident. My first 99% of my speeches, I wasn't very confident. But it's just practice and understanding that, look, even if you screw this up, even if you Jeff this horribly wrong, if you show up again, then you're still winning. You're still winning.
So well said, man. The confidence is a thing.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's
I'm
definitely...
competing with you right now.
Well,
you know what I mean?
that brings me to my next point. The fourth C, competition. No, I'm kidding. It's not one of the C's. So the third C, confidence. I have this written down. Confidence is an absolutely necessary prerequisite to trying something new. And here's the problem. When you try something new, you're not confident. No one is. I'm not confident the first time I stepped on stage. I was scared like crazy with fitness shows. I was so scared. But I did it, and if I didn't, I wouldn't have gotten better the next year and won the trophy. And it's just interesting because there's this confidence conundrum that Kevin talks about in his speeches of like, well, I'm not confident enough to try it because I'm not competent yet. But what's fascinating is you'll never be competent at anything until you try it. You ever hear someone at a barbecue say like, I'm not good at Frisbee? Well, of course not. You never do it, right? And we've all been guilty of that. As kids, we're just so willing to like mess up, like football, basketball, softball, baseball. We just try everything, and we don't really care if we look bad. And then people start to laugh at us in high school and stuff. And then we just start to like, oh, I'm not gonna. If I don't try much, then I won't get laughed at. So then we just start being worse and worse and worse at stuff, right? If you're snowboarding, and this will be the last thing I say about confidence. If you're snowboarding and you do not fall down, you're not getting any better. I was on skis when I was 4 years old, and I fell down so many times. But now I can do double black diamonds, no problem. And people see that, and they go, wow, you're so good at snowboarding. Of course. I've been doing it since I was 4. And I fell my way, and I failed my way to being good. Now, I'm not an Olympic person, but I'm very, very good. But I didn't start out that way. Every expert, every single one, started out as a beginner just like you. You just have to keep failing and keep failing forward. And the emotional pain of failure does suck, but it's a necessary part of the process.
There's another question.
I would say we should hammer it.
Let's go. Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome. How did you shift into the better done than perfect mindset?
Ooh, what a great question. What a great question.
Today.
So I am of the belief that perfectionism is fear. That is what I think. I think it's two things happen. Okay. One, you do not think the product is good enough, or two, you wait too long to release it and you learn more, and then you know the product is not good enough compared to what you know. So for me, personally, I've always decided that messy action is better because at least you get feedback. Mm-hmm. If you don't release it, you don't get any feedback. If you don't get any feedback, then you don't have any proof of whether or not to make it better. Right. You can't release something, or you can't improve something until you release it. 100%. So I think that's a belief that I've kind of always had. I don't know necessarily where that comes from. That's a really great question. I would have to think about where exactly I got that from.
I would say that perfectionism from a scientific standpoint is actually something that there's a personality test called Hexaco, and the 4 subfacets, there's something called conscientiousness that they correlate with business success. And I also learned this from Ty. Ty's getting a lot of shout-outs today.
Ty Lopez.
The 4 subfacets are organization, prudence. Organization is just being organized. Prudence is your ability to make the right decision. Diligence is hard work and work ethic. And the last one is perfectionism. So it's actually correlated with success, perfectionism, but not if it holds you back from trying. Like Kevin said, being thorough and double-checking your work is everything. And I'm very much like that. But I will admit that it holds me back because sometimes I don't release things as quickly because I always want it to be the best it can be. You have to want your work to be the best while simultaneously knowing it won't be until a decade from now. And I think that that's really hard for people to understand. But just remember, there's very little that's impossible given a decade.
Another thing, too, if you have a very, very high level of taking action, you're actually bottlenecking yourself if you're unable to or fearful to release something. That's one of the reasons that I just hammer stuff.
Yeah.
Because my action is like, just get it done and then figure it out later. Sometimes it's good enough. Sometimes you got to make changes.
I help Kevin be more thorough. He helps me take more messy action.
For sure.
And we're a good team because of that.
NLU, baby.
Right?
2K.
Amy, was there something else you wanted to say? I thought I heard you.
No, your guys are good.
Okay, cool.
You're good.
Where were we?
You're good, Amy.
My favorite C?
Yes. Number 4, consistency.
Mm.
So oftentimes people will say like, "Oh, what do you do during the day? You're a podcaster, you coach, whatever. Like, what do you actually do?" Right now, there's 17 things that I do every day. And when I tell people that, like I track my progress, Alan is the one who introduced me to this, they say, I could never do that. That's like, it's just way too strict. I kind of like to go with the flow. And in my mind, and sometimes I have the opportunity to say this, not always, I want people to understand that discipline now creates freedom later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Do you have to be as disciplined as that? No. You can start by doing 4 things a day that you normally wouldn't, right? Like, I think that you have to believe it'll be worth it at the end of the day. I think you have to believe what you're doing will be worth it when you get done, or the consistency just won't be there. But I do believe that humans struggle with consistency almost more than anything, because doing something every day is just hard. Things pop up. You have the opportunity to go out to lunch. You have the opportunity to see your family. Every one of these, and you'll see the next one or the last one next, every single one of these is connected to consistency. Every single one of them. When you're clear on what you want, when you're committed to getting it, when you're confident that you can achieve it, you must be consistent, because you won't get it. And you know that. If you have the clarity of understanding, look, either I show up every day or I don't get what I want, it's hard to let yourself down. At the end of the day, you're the boss of your goals. You're the boss of your dreams. A lot of us have jobs that we wouldn't go to if we didn't get paid. We wouldn't go to if there wasn't a boss there counting on us. When it comes to your level of consistency, you're the gatekeeper. You decide whether or not you get up when the alarm goes off. You decide whether or not to go to the gym. And you have to have a why attached to it. And I always put myself in pain. I don't suggest everybody does that. But understand that you're already consistently doing things. Hopefully you're not consistently letting yourself down. Hopefully you're not consistently, holding yourself back. But if you can shift one thing, just one thing, start small. I didn't start with 17 things. I didn't start with 17. I started with 4, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I'm the man. Like, I'm tracking my finances and podcast listens. Like, this is great. Start small. Start with one thing. What is one thing right now that you knew if you did consistently would make your life better, and then attach an outcome to it? You have to have some, like, if I go to the gym for the next 30 days, or if I go to the gym 5 times a week for the next month, I will buy myself this.
Mm.
Start there. Give yourself a reward for doing what's hard and necessary.
So I remember I have a mentor who was really, really successful in the tech industry. Grew many tech companies, CEO, all that awesome stuff. And I've learned so much from him, and I'm so grateful. I remember we were in the gym one time because I was very focused on fitness and on my health, and I was unbelievably consistent in that arena. And he was unbelievably consistent in business and money and wealth and stock market and all that stuff. And so I remember one time he said, Alan, it's interesting, you feel really good at the beach. I feel really good at the bank. But neither one of us feel good on the other one. I'll never forget when he said that, because I wasn't that focused on money back then. And he was not focused enough on fitness. See, the truth of the matter is, if you're not consistent, you will have pain on the beach. If you're not consistent, you will have pain at the bank. And this is the stuff Kevin and I don't want to have to say, but we do have to say. You can either be consistent and exercise, or you will have pain on the beach. It is your choice. It's the discipline today, aka do what is hard and necessary even though you don't want to, or it's the pain of regret tomorrow. Kevin and I at 26 had life or death situations. His was suicide, mine was a car accident. We know what regret feels like. We decided no more. And that's where these 5 C's came from. The pain of being inconsistent is too great. Just remember that. But you don't know it until way later. It is the pay now, play later motto versus the play now, pay later motto. And you got to choose the right one. We all get it, right? It's more fun to go to a barbecue than to the gym. It's more fun to frolic on the beach than to work hard, right? But what's fun and easy will never make you fulfilled long term, because you're not going to grow and you're not going to win, especially in the long run. So real quick, we have someone coming on the podcast. We've got 4 minutes here, so I'll crank. Someone coming on the podcast, thanks to Brandon, shout out to you, brother, called Stephen Kotler. Stephen Kotler is a good friend of Tony Robbins and Peter Diamandis, and they wrote a book called Bold, and he also wrote a new book. It's right behind me. It's called The Art of Impossible. Started reading this book to prep for the interview. Oh my God, it's so good. So good. Can't wait. He said, there is very little that's impossible given a decade. But I want everyone to think about something for a second. Almost everything's impossible today. I can't do the splits right now. I can't climb Mount Everest right now. I can't play the piano right now. I suck at tennis right now. But in a decade, I could be world class at any of those. See, we don't think like that. We make the mistake of saying, I can't play the piano. No. You can't play the piano right now. In a decade, you could be world class at the piano, but you'd have to be consistent.
Speaking of tennis, I watched a little bit of pickleball this weekend. Quite entertaining, believe it or not. Number 5, one way to help with consistency, get around a community, because that starts with C, of people who are trying to get to the next level. Get around a community of people who are consistent, confident, committed, and clear on their goals. One of my favorite quotes ever, and I'm going to hammer so Alan has a second to go here, are the people in your life the best from your past or the best for your future? And I try to tell this story just to understand the power of your community and the people you surround yourself with. When I was 21, I was working at a gas station. If you came in and said, hey, Kev, I'm looking for a job, what can you do for me? The best I could do is get you a job as a gas station attendant. That's the best I could do. I didn't have a network. I didn't have a community of people around me. But now if you came to me and said, hey, what can you do? We're blessed enough to know people that I could introduce you to, right? We could say, hey, you can come on the team. There's plenty of stuff to do here. Well, maybe we can introduce you to Dave if you're a graphic designer or whatever it is, right? Understand that your community is way more impactful than you realize, and sometimes it takes looking back to understand that. But you can look back and say like, oh, those are the people I went to high school with, and now they're either in trouble or they're not doing the most savory things. And you can look on the other side of like, oh, those are the people in high school that I didn't spend time with, and now they're doing this, they're doing this. That's your community. Your community determines your results.
It's fire.
There's a question.
Hammer it.
Love it.
Which
Speed
one
round.
of the 5 C's have you struggled with the most, and how do you overcome it?
100% number 3, confidence. I did not have almost any confidence growing up. How did I overcome it? I would say number 1, getting around Alan helped me. My other good friend, best friend, Matt, is super confident as well. So surrounding myself with people who gave me the opportunity and the platform to get out of my comfort zone, and then also the support when I crashed and burned, which I did occasionally. So that's what I would say.
For me, it's community, for sure. I think because I didn't struggle much with self-confidence, I believed that I could achieve my goals regardless of what environments I found myself in. So the persons, places, things, and ideas that I surrounded myself with were not what was best for me because I believed I could achieve my goals regardless, and that just wasn't true. We have a mentor. His name's Nick Cavuto. Shout out to him. He's amazing. And the truth of the matter is that Kevin's quote, are the people in your life the best from your past or for your future? The truth of the matter is Nick is a better friend if I want to achieve my business goals. Why? Because he's started a bunch of successful businesses. He's doing it. That doesn't mean my other friends aren't valuable. It just means that you have to get around people who are like-minded. And this is what I was going to say about community, so this is a good segue. Nothing influences you more than other people. Nothing influences me more than other people. Nothing influences Kevin more than other people. On the NLU team, okay, we've got an 11-person team. Believe it or not, we have something called peak performance tracking where you track your daily dozen. Kevin has a daily 17. But the daily dozen means that you find 4 things you do every day under health, 4 under wealth, 4 under love. Health, wealth, and love. Next level you. Okay? Everyone on the NLU team does peak performance tracking. They track their habits. So on the team, it's weird not to track your habits. If you don't track your habits on the NLU team, you're the odd person out. But everyone on the NLU team who tracks their habits is the odd one out in all the other rooms they're in. See, because from a statistical standpoint, if we took 1,000 random people on the globe in a room, how many of them track their habits every day? It's a very small percentage. So just understand your community is unreasonably important. So imagine if you knew exactly who you were and exactly where you want to go, clarity. committed 1,000% to get there no matter what. We're confident in your own ability to figure it out. We're consistent every single day. And you surrounded yourself with amazing people. You're going to achieve so much. These are the 5 C's of a next level life. And this is what we've found from all the studying and all the research we've been doing.
I like when you do the wrap up.
Oh, thank
I
you,
like
brother.
that. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a few spots remaining for next level group coaching round 3. If you're looking for that community to help you get to the next level, that's why we created it. And make sure you stick around and go to the link in the, hopefully it's in the bio, show notes, whatever is below us, description, for the post Meetup Mastermind where a meeting of the minds occurs.
Speaking of community, the NLU team will be in there.
Yeah.
And go converse with them. Because, again, these keynotes are only as valuable as what you take away from them. So thank you so much for attending. Sign up for group coaching.
We don't have fans. We have family. Talk to you on the
you
next
soon.
one.